The Tempest, Act 2, Scene 1, lines 240 to 291. In this part, we see Antonio convincing Sebastian to murder the king. Let us listen to the text.
Then, tell me, who's the next heir of Naples?
Claribel.
She that is Queen of Tunis, she that dwells 10 leagues beyond man's life, she that from Naples can have no note, unless the sun were post, the man i' the moon's too slow, till new-born chins be rough and razorable, she that from whom we all were sea-swallowed, though some cast again, and by that destiny to perform an act whereof what's past is prologue, what to come in yours and my discharge.
What stuff is this? How say you? 'Tis true, my brother's daughter's Queen of Tunis, so she is heir of Naples. 'Twixt which regions there is some space.
A space whose every cubit seems to cry out, how shall that Claribel measure us back to Naples? Keep in Tunis, and let Sebastian wake. Say, this were death that now hath seized them. Why, they were no worse than now they are. There be that can rule Naples as well as he that sleeps, lords that can prate as amply and unnecessarily as this Gonzalo. I myself could make a chuff of as deep chat. Oh, that you bore the mind that I do! What a sleep were this for your advancement! Do you understand me?
Methinks I do.
And how does your content tender your own good fortune?
I remember you did supplant your brother Prospero.
True. And look how well my garments sit upon me, much feater than before. My brother's servants were then my fellows, now they are my men.
But for your conscience.
Ay, sir, where lies that? If 'twere a kibe, 'twould put me to my slipper. But I feel not this deity in my bosom. 20 consciences that stand 'twixt me and Milan, candid be they, and melt ere they molest. Here lies your brother, no better than the earth he lies upon, if he were that which now he's like, that's dead, whom I, with this obedient steel, 3 inches of it, can lay to bed for ever, whiles you, doing thus, to the perpetual wink for I might put this ancient morsel, this Sir Prudence, who should not upbraid our course. For all the rest, they'll take suggestion as a cat laps milk. They'll tell the clock to any business that we say befits the hour.
Thy case, dear friend, shall be my precedent. Hast thou gotten Milan? I'll come by Naples. Draw thy sword, one stroke shall free thee from the tribute which thou payest, and I the king shall love thee.
Draw together, and when I rear my hand, do you the like to fall it on Gonzalo.
Oh, but one word.
They talk apart.
In the past class, Antonio asks Sebastian, will you grant with me that Ferdinand is drowned? So do you agree with me that Ferdinand is dead and gone? And Sebastian says, yes, he's gone. And now here, then tell me, who's the next heir of Naples? Sebastian says, Claribel. Naturally. She that is Queen of Tunis, she that dwells 10 leagues beyond man's life, she that from Naples can have no note, unless the sun were post. Then the man in the moon is too slow, till newborn chins be rough and razorable. Just that queen from Tunis, you don't think she will manage to rule Naples, because she's too far away. She wouldn't even be able to send a note from there, because it would take too long. It would take as long as a newborn baby is born and has become a man. She that from whom we all were sea-swallowed, she was the cause for our shipwreck. Though some cast again, although some of us have survived. And by that destiny to perform an act whereof what's past is prologue, what to come in yours and mine discharged. He says, by this she has provided us a perfect opportunity to perform an act where you and I are primary players. and the past has just been an introduction to what is to come. Sebastian is surprised and says, "What stuff is this? How say you?" "'Tis true my brother's daughter is Queen of Tunis, so is she heir of Naples, twixt which regions there is some space." He says, "What is this stuff? What are you saying?" "It is true that Claribel is the Queen of Tunis and she is my brother's daughter. And she is also the heir of Naples. And there is some space between Naples and Tunis." And Antonio butts in and says, "A space whose every cubit seems to cry out, how shall that Claribel measure us back to Naples?" She says, so far that every foot of distance between them is Tunis and Naples here, seems to shout, it is too far for Claribel to come back to Naples. Keep in Tunis and let Sebastian wake. Say this word death that now hath seized them. Why they were no worse than now they are. They be that rule Naples as well as he that sleeps. He says, leave Tunis. Let Claribel rule Tunis. But here let Sebastian awake. And he talks about the people who are sleeping, especially Alonso and Gonzalo, and says, let's assume that these two people who are sleeping here are dead. Wouldn't make any difference. They were no worse than now they are. They were definitely not worse than now they are. There be that can rule Naples as well as he that sleeps. There will be people who can rule Naples, just like this fellow sleeps here. Lords that can prate as amply as unnecessarily as this Gonzalo, I myself could make a chaff of as deep chat. He says, there'll be plenty of people like this Gonzalo who can unnecessarily prat. Prat means babble and plentifully talk. I myself can teach a bird to do that. Oh, that you bore the mind that I do. What a sleep were this for your advancement. Do you understand me? He says, oh, I wish you had my kind of mind. And I wish you realized what opportunity this sleep provides for your advancement. Do you understand me? Methinks I do, he says. I think I do. And how does your content tender your own good fortune? He says, how does this prospect of good fortune make you happy? Sebastian recalls something and he says, I remember you did supplant your brother Prospero. I remember you took the throne from your own brother Prospero. True, and look how well my garments sit upon me, much feater than before. My brother's servants were then my fellows, now they are my men. He says, yes, I did that, and look how happy I am. Look how my garments sit upon me. How remarkably they look on me. My brother's servants, I was one of them before, but now they have to obey me. And Sebastian says, but for your conscience? How about your conscience? Aye, sir, where lies that? If it were a kite, it would put me to my slipper. But I feel not this deity in my bosom. 20 consciences that stand twixt me and Milan, candid be they, and melt ere they molest. He says, yes, what guilt conscience? What guilt conscience? I don't feel anything. If it were a chilblain, I would put on my slippers. But I don't feel any such deity in my chest, in my bosom. Between me and Milan, there are 20 consciences. And he says, they'd melt away to nothing before they caused me any trouble. Here lies your brother, no better than the earth he lies upon. If he were that which now he is like, that's dead. Here's your brother sleeping, worth no more than the dirt he is lying on. If he were as dead as he appears to be now, whom I, with this obedient steel, he takes out his sword and he says, 3 inches of it can lay to bed forever, whilst you doing thus, to the perpetual wink, for I might put this ancient morsel, this Sir Prudence, who should not upbraid our cause. He says, I could quickly make him dead with this sword of mine. He wouldn't stand in our way, while you do the same to that bit of flesh, that Sir Prudence, with your own sword, so that they don't interfere with our course of action. For all the rest, they'll take suggestion as a cat laps milk. They'll tell the clock to any business that we say benefits the hour. He says, for the other men, we can make them believe anything we choose. They'll set their watches to whatever time we say or we command. Thy case, dear friend, shall be my precedent. As thou gottest Milan, I'll come by Naples. Draw thy sword. One stroke shall free thee from the tribute which thou payest, and I, the king, shall love thee. You'll be my role model. Just as you got Milan, I'll get Naples. Take out your sword. With one cut, you can free you. With one cut, you can be free from your tribute that you pay to Naples. And as king, I will love you forever. And Antonio says, draw together, and when I rear my hand, do you the like to fall it on Gonzalo. He says, you take out your sword too. When I raise my hand, you do the same and bring it down on Gonzalo's head. Sebastian just thinks for a while and he says, oh, but one word. He says, oh, but there is one more thing to tell you. And he speaks quietly to Antonio. And they talk about. In the next class rather, let us see what happens to the king. Thank you.